computer. Good evening. And so thank you very much for being here with us tonight. We have a big night ahead of us. We're going to talk about the 6 pernicious influences. So the first thing I want to do is a tapping sequence for you to bring it all together. So I want you to take your fingers like this, and you start at your belly button, and you go around your belly button, you tap around your belly button, and then you tap all the way up to your chest, and then you go this way, and then you go back, and you go back. And this is a very good way to open up circulation. And you come right back down to your belly button. Take a deep breath and feel that energy flow through you. It is very beautiful and very unique. So we're going to start off right away with screen sharing and bringing this up because there's a lot to go over tonight. From the beginning. And I've got to move this down. There we go. Okay, so welcome to Blue Dream Love and Wellness, to webinar 149. Has everybody heard about pernicious influences before? Not at all. Not at all. Okay, so this will be new. Now, everybody, is it okay if we muscle test and we're going to put you all together in the same realm, the same energy? Is that okay with everybody? Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So the 6 excesses, or the 6 evils, as they are also called, are the pernicious influences, and they are primarily caused by external forces, according to Chinese medicine. And it's very interesting how it works. They are actually environmental factors, which when we are overexposed to them and or have a relatively weak defense, that can invade the body. The 6 pernicious factors: heat, wind, cold, summer heat, dryness, and fire. There are 6 of them, but they all can go together and they all cause different imbalances. So they're all related to the seasons of the year and to the weather that is going on at the current time. However, there's going to be a lot of howevers. In the case of wind, for instance, they can be understood as a Chinese version of virus or a bacteria. And some of them can be very severe, as we're going to learn. You're thinking it's just something normal going on when it's actually one of these 6 pernicious influences that have caused this disease. So the body, as we know, is dynamic. We all know that. And it's yin and yang in its various subcategories. Yin is female, yang is male. And remember, we both, no matter what, we all have both within our bodies. So when this balance is upset, the body may not be able to adjust to those climate changes or those environmental changes, and thus we become sick. So likewise, when normal environmental forces become excessive or occur unseasonably, which we've been having unseasonably weather, and one's innate defenses are weaker, the body reacts adversely and to these external climates and environmental conditions. Adverse and I can't even say it now. Climatic factors invade the body and cause disease of all fashions. Now, we're just going to go over a few, because if I went over all of them, we would be here for about 4 or 5 days. And I don't think y'all want to do that tonight. So the 6 pernicious influences relate to the presence of these effects in a dwelling, in a workplace, or in the outside climates. These influences invade the body either singly or in a combination. So example, if you have wind and it's cold, causes rhinitis, sinus imbalances. If you have damp and heat, the symptoms can be itching, and we can have oozing, sores, and skin rashes. And if it's like with wind and dampness, you can have arthralgia, which is pain in our joints. And many people suffer with this. And it's not just because of arthritis, but it's because of this pernicious influence. So these influences usually invade the body through the skin, the mouth, while the wind invades the back of your neck. Isn't that amazing? You know how the wind blows at the back of your neck? Well, if our immune systems are not up, what's going to happen? You're going to have a problem. So they come on suddenly, no warning at all, and suddenly become acute illnesses that can go into chronic illnesses if we don't understand what's going on. So they are characterized by an aversion towards the influence like fear, heat and cold, two together, dislike, wind or dampness together. And they can even include fevers, chills, body aches, and just general tiredness. And sometimes we get so weak, we don't understand, but it's the influence that's actually causing it. So please note that although the climate cause of diseases are important, in practice, exterior pathogen factors such as wind heat or wind cold. And these are going to be confusing at first until you get them under your belt and understood a little bit more. When they are clinically more relevant than patterns of disharmony when your body doesn't work together, rather than a cause of disease. So if we have a weakened immune system, we may be having problems with these. So the wind heat patterns may cause, in some, they say it's climatic, but in others, they do not. So wind heat is the pattern of wind plus the heat, so summer hot, that clinically significantly requires treatment. And sometimes we don't think that it does, but it really does require treatment. So under normal circumstances, the weather will have no effect on you, no pathogenic effect. And we think, about that. So, and I'll explain more as we go. It can adequately, our bodies can adequately take care of itself, right? If we're in proper immune function, we are good. But the weather can become a cause of disease, not only with the equilibrium of the body and the environmental breaks it down, either because of the weather or it's excessive to because of the body is weak in relative to it. So, you know, some people that say have fibromyalgia are very factored with the damp and the cold, or if it's too hot, it's going to flare it up. So climatic factors become a cause of disease, again, only when the body is weak. It is important to stress here that the body is only relatively weak, not necessary fundamentally a weak one. It doesn't need to be very weak to be invaded by exterior pathogenic factors. And we've all, I'm sure, have had pathogenic factors happen to our bodies, so we understand. So as a relatively healthy person can also be attacked by exterior factors. And these are stronger in relation to the body or the relatively strength of the defense of the qi, the energy system of the body. And that's important. So if you have any questions, just shout them out at me, please. Each one of these 6 pernicious influences are associated with certain seasons, as I stated, during which times more prevalent, for instance, diseases caused by the wind that is related to spring. How many of you have spring, rhinitis? Allergy systems go crazy at this time of the year, right? So wood element, and we've got 5 elements: earth, wind, fire, metal, and water. So with the wood element, and it's to associate of that is our liver and our gallbladder, and it's a wood. And if we will learn about the 5 elements, and they are amazing within itself. I've been going over it more and more, and it is spot on in so many places. So the heat and the summer heat relate to summer and are associated with the fire element, because that's when things get really hot, as Mary is experiencing right now. So heat and summer heat also involves the heart circulation. And people think they can only have heart attacks, and we'll go over this, at a certain time of year, but it's more prevalent in the summer heat. So the earth element involving digestion, it actually stimulates the stomach and the spleen. Okay, while the dampness relates to the humidity and to winter weather, which stresses the earth's spleen function of the assimilation of digestion. Now, how many of us have a problem with our digestion and think that it's assimilated to something else when it can be assimilated to this? So finally, the cold is associated with winter and can injure the mental lungs function. How many people get pneumonia through the winter? Okay. So the adrenals, which is the root of yin and yang for the entire body, can also be affected in this. With any exception of summer heat, any of the climatic factors can arise in any season. Okay, I want you to remember that because it's just not these. Anything can happen anytime. So it's not all uncommon. And here again, the heart attacks of wind heat or in the winter, wind cold. And it's confusing with all these different factors. Heat, however, can arise again only in the summer living conditions, which can also determine which climatic factor invaded the body. So if you know it's in the summer, you know it's summer heat. But what else is associated? Is it cold? Is it damp? Is it wind? So with the exception of summer heat, any of these climatic factors can release at any part of the season. It is not uncommon, again, to have attacks of wind heat in the winter and wind cold in the summer. Summer heat, however, can arise in the summer. So like the example, the damp house. Everybody has lived in a damp house before, have we not? Due to the weather. Okay, it can cause an invasion of exterior dampness irrespective of the season itself. And that's where all the mold comes in, right? And we don't think we're allergic to the mold, but the spores we are allergic to. So fire is the one case because although it can be associated with the season of summer, it is summer that it actually primarily hits on. So it's an internal pathogen and it's independent of all the seasons. So we're going to start with the wind. So if everybody's still accrued to it, we're going to muscle test as a group. Okay. So let's start with the wind. It is involved in the movement and activity which brings evil qui. That's the life force. But it is the most important evil or pernicious influence because it has over 100 diseases associated with it. And that was mind-blowing when I started reading all those diseases. So the most common in spring disperses qui upward and outward instead of bringing it internally. Remember, these can be internal or they can be external. So the yang energy, the male energy wants to rise upwards and outwards. Also, the female energy will come in. So let's do it as a whole. If you would please, everybody just take a breath. And I'm going to take it as a whole. Everybody here, we're all in line. We're all where we need to be. Is there an imbalance with anybody that I need to bring up that has an imbalance with a wind toxicity? Yes. And it is a toxin. It's an environmental and it's an agricultural. Rodenticides. Now we know that everybody gets, not everybody, people spray for rodents all the time. And then it stays there. It's on the floor, it's in the grass, it's around the house, and we're smelling that in, right? That absorbs into our skin. So let's erase that and get that out of there. Everybody take a deep breath. Now, it may not pertain to everyone, but we're going to do it as a whole. So that did pass. Underlying secret, hidden, hiding, secret in the shadows, no. Okay. So illness manifestation in the upper and outer parts of the body always occur in the early stages. And sometimes we don't recognize it in the early stages. It's when it gets more produced that we recognize there's a problem. Rashes are common that are itchy. They come and go swiftly, but it spreads like wildfire. Has anybody ever seen rashes do this? It is because of this reason. Sweating is common. We overexert. We're not getting hydrated enough. Yes, Mary. Acute illnesses have fever and infectious diseases. Like when you have the flu, how many of you got the flu and got a stiff neck with it? Very common, right? Okay. So external wind cold, chills, more than fevers, occipital headaches, sneezing and body aches, that move around. The body aches move around in your body. It just doesn't settle in one place. So if you have an excess of this type of external wind, there's little or no sweating. The pulse is floating. I don't know if you've ever checked your pulse and felt how it was beating in a certain day, or when you don't feel good, how it barely comes up and it just kind of the thump. If you've ever recognized that, watch your pulse, pay attention. Now, the way qui which is our internal organs are strong. So the pores themselves are held closed and doesn't allow it to come out. So then it internalizes and becomes a bigger problem. So let's see. Does anybody here in this group have a problem with this? Yes. It's an energy, a mental, and a no will. No will to receive abundance. How many of us feel no will to receive abundance? Okay, and there is underlining. And it's emotional resonance. And it's actually terror. And there's walls of terror. 10. 4 million walls of terror wrapped in the lungs. So we're going to remove these 4 million walls of terror wrapped around the lungs 365/7 permanently. Everybody take a breath. And there's something underlying that. A nutrient toxicity. Let's see what that is. An excess of vitamin B12. So if we're taking B12 and we're taking too much of it, we need to muscle test whether we're strong enough. I know that the bottles say to take a certain amount, but not always is that true. Some people need less, some people need more. That's where muscle testing is so important when you're dealing with herbs and vitamins and supplements and essential oils. And there's still something hiding underneath that. And it's worthlessness. So let's remove the vitamin B toxicity. And there's walls of worthlessness, and it's wrapped around the root chakra. 8 gazillion. That's a lot. So let's remove these 8 gazillion walls wrapped around the root chakra. Let's release that and ask Jesus to just come in and bless that. Everybody take a big breath, please. And exhale very slowly as it comes out. Just feel your body relax into that. And I'm going to put into everybody that we are worthy. We are worthy. We are worthy. Take another deep breath, please. And that did sink. Okay. If we want to anchor that in, take your middle finger. They're not just for the lovely social finger, but take it right here in between your eyebrows and tap. I am worthy, and say to yourself, I am worthy. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of health. I am worthy of life. I am worthy to receive abundance in every direction. Take another deep breath. Now, if you tapped and that feels funny because you've not tapped there before, and remember, this is also your third eye. So you're anchoring that in. So if we want to anchor something in stronger than just doing it through our muscle testing or through the pendulum, we can anchor it in right through our third eye. So the next one is wind heat. The fever more than chills. We get sore throats, coughs, thick yellow mucus, thirsting for cold drinks, and the pulse can be very thready. So brum, 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 brum. Okay. Summer heat. You have high fevers, dizziness, coma, and yin collapses. That means our female part of our body collapses, and profuse sweating. Now, these are just a few examples. I have pages of examples. So let's do is the wind heat perfect with everybody? Yes, but the summer heat is not. And it's an energy, mental, despair anchor. People want to hurt me. And there's underlying. And it's panic. So let's release this panic out of people want to hurt me. There's something else. It's actually corded into peeved. So let's break that cord. I want you to imagine a golden ray coming out of your hands and just separating that cord and dissipating it and allow it to float. And we bring in healing. We bring that green light in and allow it to heal it. Take a big breath and let that flow again. There we go. Is everybody okay? Okay. Let me know if you're not. Now, summer heat is combined with dampness, and we all know we profusely sweat in the summertime. So if a person with a damp constitution experiencing summer heat, or a person who eats damp foods, like in the summer, we eat ice cream and cold soda and cold food. Okay, that's not always good for us because that dampness turns into phlegm because the heat, and it can cause nausea. Has anybody ever experienced this? Yes. Okay. So let's see if as a whole, and it's going to go to circuits and systems, and it's going to go to a gland. It's going to go to a brain gland, the amygdala. And the amygdala is that little bitty gland that's located back behind the temporal lobes of the brain. And when that is not happy, the noradrenaline, the adrenaline, and the cortisol is being produced. So that makes you anxious and easily startled, and you have trouble sleeping, and you can have high blood sugars and a fast heart rate, and you can have digestion problems. Now, there's actually no known hormone that goes with this, but there is an underlying condition. And it's a toxin, and it's going to go right to our adrenal glands. Imagine that. So that means we have excess stress hormones, which is adrenaline, cortisol, and noradrenaline, right? And there's no walls of it. So let's just release that out of our adrenal glands. But some adrenal glands actually need some ylang-ylang because they are completely exhausted. Now, ylang-ylang is an essential oil. And just for a round number, 13 drops inside of a 15 milliliter bottle. You put the drops in first, and then you put in your carrier oil, whether it's olive leaf extract, coconut oil, whatever it may be. It can be many things. And then you add them together, but you don't want to shake them. You want to roll them, because when you shake them like this, it disperses these and breaks them up, and they don't work well anymore. So did that balance that for everybody? No. Let's see why not. Toxic sound from traffic noise, and that left a trapped emotion of unsupported. So let's remove this traffic noise, and let's see what is unsupported. And I hit the wrong one. Feeling the burden is too heavy to carry it alone. And this is a wall. 500 of them. So let's remove this unsupported, the 500 walls, 365/7 permanently out of these adrenal glands also. Take a deep breath. And there's still something there. I can feel it tugging at my chest. Hydration. Somebody is not hydrated, and they're not absorbing the fluids they are drinking due to terror. So we're going to remove that terror, and we're going to add the hydration back in on top and allow you to absorb it. Take a deep breath, and we can even balance our own energy out. You would put your hands like this, one on top of the other, and you would go down to your groin and come all the way up. And then you would come back and do the other hand on the other side and bring it the same way past your groin and up past your head. And you can do that a few times, and it's already balancing the energy. My chest is releasing. I asked when we were in class how many times you can do this. You can do this to 1,000 to 6,000 times. It doesn't matter. Just keep doing it, and it balances your energy, and it works beautifully. So that did balance. Thank you. So if you have any questions, shoot them out at me. So the next one is syndromes of fire. Now, if we've ever had serious bronchitis, pneumonia, anything like that, where we have a lung disease, lung fire can be loud with a very forceful cough. And it feels like it's actually burnt off the protection of the mucous membrane. So the capillaries themselves have burst. Now, these can be healed, but they're bursting. So mucus is green and brown. Brown is from that blood. And they can cause red, painful rashes all over our body. Not everybody will have that, but some can. Does that make any sense? Okay. So does anybody have a syndrome of fire? Yes. And it's caused by a heavy metal mercury toxicity from medical toxins. So let's remove these medical toxins out of this area. And there's something else in there. And it's going right to the lungs. And it's going to the trachea. And there's an emotion in there. Effort unreceived. And it actually has a generator of anger. So let's break the generator of anger, pull that out, and pull out the effort unreceived, and balance this in our trachea. Everybody take a deep breath, and when you blow it out, shh, put your teeth together, tongue behind your teeth, shh, hiss it out, shh, and see if that helps. Okay, beautiful. It passed. If you're not okay, let me know and we'll stop and I'll work on you by yourself, okay? So stomach fire. Now this can be burning like heartburn, and I'm sure we've all experienced heartburn one time in our life or not. The stomach channels themselves, they are very strong anxiety. We are restless, we have mania, and even insomnia can occur. And then when we lay down, that burning comes up and we can't breathe. We feel like we're suffocating. So the liver fire, anger, very heavy anger, shingles occur in the coastal regions, and the burning in the genitalia area, and even from STDs can occur just from the stomach fire, just from this one thing. And everybody thinks it's from something else. So let's see. There is an energy and it's a reverberation. And it's a miasm. Mother, father, mother, father. How many years? 60,000 years ago. And it's, are you sure? It is about Candida albicans. And back then they didn't know how to deal with this. So they didn't have pro and prebiotics to take care of it. They did have colloidal silver, but they did not have pre and probiotics. Can we release it safely from everybody? So we're going to release it from everybody, back to back, side to side, past, present, future, and any parallel lives. Because of that avatar life, we all have parallel lives. Everybody take a deep breath. There's still something there. I can feel it. It's in our skeleton, in our axle, and it's the sternum. Yes. Going to systems, to the digestive system. The ileocecal valve. Now the ileocecal valve can either be open or closed. We have a little flap there, and if it's open, we're going to have heartburn. If it's closed, you will not have it. It won't reflux back up. So there's not any hormones that go with it, but there are trapped emotions. Overjoy. Imagine that. So let's go in and read what overjoy actually is. So it's intense delight or elation about being too overpowering for the body. So somebody had some great joy that just was too much, and this occurred. So there's actually walls of it, 10, 20, 50,000 walls of overjoy. So we're going to release this overjoy, 50,000 walls, 365/7 permanently out of the ileocecal valve, and allow this to calm. We're going to put blue calming light on this and just allow it to just passe. Take a breath and blow that out very, very slowly. Beautiful. It went. Great. Anybody have any questions? A lot of them, right? Okay. The large intestine fire. Now this can call a toothache because the channels, remember, our meridians run up and down. Our chakras go in spirals. So the meridians are not off, not happy, not off, not on when you have these going this way. So long-term alcoholism, drug abuse, bone infections, or meningitis can occur. So deficient in fire is smoldering heat, where it's just very low, and especially at night, and you get low grade rashes. They pop up, they dissipate during the day, they pop up the next night. And they can be red, they can be itchy, and they can be painful. So does anybody have any large intestine fire? Does anybody have deficient fire? Yes, right, that energy. Mental. The universe hates me. And there's walls of that. In the kidney. Okay. $90,000 walls of the universe hates me in the kidneys. There's not a hook or a cord or generator, so let's just let it low. Take a deep breath and blow it out, very forceful. Beautiful. And there is something underneath of there. It's another misalignment, except it's in the soft tissue, the fascia. Okay, so the fascia is a thin, light, little layer that lays all around every organ, every gland, and it is torn in our kidney area. And again, because of peeved. So we're going to remove this peeved out of the kidney. Okay, let a deep breath in and just very lightly let it roll. There, it released. Very good. Thank you so much. Everybody okay? Okay. Now, the syndrome of heat, which is wind heat, as in fever, more than chills, because we can have a fever and not have chills, but we can have a fever and be chilling and be so cold that no matter if you put a heating pad or not on, you're still cold. Sore throat, frontal headaches, big thirst. So if you have a damp heat, the upper gyo affects the face and the air. So that's the body. So the middle gyo affects the spleen and the liver, and the lower affects the bladder and the genitalia. So do we have a syndrome of heat, but we do have damp? Is it upper? It's middle. So it's the liver, and it's a toxin. Metabolic waste. Now, metabolic waste can occur in anybody and everybody because of what we eat. We don't get whole products anymore. We eat, unfortunately, processed foods, and not everything is made correctly, and fields are not properly fed as they used to be, and crops rotated, so they give food extra, or fields extra herbicides, whatever you want to call it, to make the plant disperse and come up. So this causes problems. So is this what it is? Yes. It's an underlying secret, hidden, hiding. There is something hiding. A food toxin, and it is flour products. So we're going to remove the flour products out of the metabolic waste and out of the liver. And there's something more because it just grabbed me when I let that go. And there's resentment, walls of resentment. $100 million walls of resentment wrapped around that liver. So let's just let all of those go. 365/7 permanently. There's a hook. A hook means that the word, the emotion is hooked into something else, so it's not able to release. So we're going to break that hook, and what comes up is conflict. So we're just going to release that. Take a deep breath, and again, seethe it through your teeth. There it goes. Okay, thank you. Make sure you're drinking through this too, because as we're releasing, we're processing the same time, right? If you don't have a drink, please get one. So the next one is excess fire. This strong heat that reaches deep within the organs, as it can have external and internal origins. So big thirst, somebody that's always thirsty, always grabbing something to drink. Redness, restlessness, symptoms are very loud and very forceful, like coughs, diarrhea, colitis. So let's see if this one is okay. No. Go into circuits and systems, go into an organ, go into the stomach. And the hormone is ghrelin, leptin, somatostatin, and triphosphatase. And the triphosphatase are not happy within our stomach. So this is because of trapped emotions, despair. And if you have this going on, if you have a loud, forceful cough, diarrhea, even colitis, and you're restless and you can't get enough to drink, you're going to be this emotion, right? And it's actually hooked into something else, into low self-esteem. So we're going to release these, and we're going to release the excess fire. And there's something else. It's a sweetener, sugar alcohol, xylitol. So we're going to release the xylitol. And I want everybody to do this again for me because the energy is flying. And you can really feel it. I don't know if you can feel it, but if your energies are getting in touch. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, thank you. Now, this one is a big one too. They all are big because there's so much involved. If I were to give a class, it would probably be a 10-day class, and we'd have to meet every day for you to understand all of this that's incorporated. So I try to dampen it down. So internal dampness arising in the body can be from the Su. Su is to permit. The dampness is a main factor and is often compromised by the immune system. So we that have immune system problems, this can happen often. So it can cause congestion in the lymphatic system. You can feel the lymphs. If everybody can feel their lymphs here, you have lymphs all throughout your body, and your groin, and your legs, and your ankles, everywhere. So the autoimmune conditions in particular may have been affected, unfortunately. It may even act as a long-term chronic situation, and it's due to damp, cold, or raw foods. Remember, we have to have heat and cold. Raw foods are good for us, especially vegetables, but steaming them might be a little better, be easier for us to digest. So does anybody have this? Yes, everybody actually has this. It's a toxin. Back to food. Ah, lovely preservatives. So it's an antimicrobial, and it's sorbic acid. There's something hiding in the sorbic acid. Unsupported again. Let's see what unsupported this one is. Just a lack of support. Okay, so we're going to take that lack of support out of the sorbic acid and out of this autoimmune. And there's something else in there. And it's actually a physical allergy. Is this to a food? It is. Let's see what food it is. So is it A, B, C, D, even odd 1, 3. Somebody is allergic to olive oil and they're overusing it. So if you are using a lot of olive oil, because I won't pinpoint, just back off a little bit. Don't use as much. And make sure it's extra virgin olive oil, just not plain olive oil. And let's just release this and allow the peace and harmony to come in there. Take a breath and just let it blow out normally. Beautiful. These diseases may be chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, chronic candida. There are 7 different forms of candida. Everybody always just treats it across the top as a whole, but there's 7 different forms, and they all 7 come from something else. So there is even lymphomas and so much more that is associated with this. So we can have bloating, diarrhea, vomiting, heaviness of heat and body, dizziness, and even low appetite. Everybody knows with fibro and chronic fatigue and even chronic candida, you need to be taking pro and prebiotics. You need to be eating regularly. You need to be eating as much raw or steamed vegetables as you can. Fruit is a no-no depending on which stage. There's 3 different stages of candida. So if you're stage 1, you cannot have any fruit. If you're at stage 2, you can have 1, 2 hours away from any food that you eat. And if it's in stage 3, you can have 2. But again, it has to be 2 hours away from your food. You know, a lot of people eat their meal and then immediately eat that fruit on top of it, that pie. What it does is it creates a still in your stomach, and they're creating their own alcohol. And it's absorbing out, and you can smell it. You can smell it on their breath. The breath is the first indicator, the skin. You can smell it all. So is there anybody? Yes. It's a toxin. It's a food toxin again. and it's going to go to food coloring. In bakery products. So it's another secret hidden hiding. And it's guilt because they have guilt for having it. So let's release that guilt out of the bakery products, out of the preservatives and the food coloring. And it released. Okay, everybody take a deep breath and just let that go. And don't be guilty. It's okay to cheat once in a while and have a little piece of pie. Okay, heat. Here we're back to heat. Heat is associated with the heart. Once again, summertime heart, element of yang evil. There are so many. As I said, there's 100 diseases when it comes to the heat. Damages of yin, which is the female, dries the fluids and easily leads to yin zhu. Again, the zhu is to permit the heat to rise. So the diseases most common on the face, the eyes, the nose, and it causes redness, and it also affects our liver. So does anybody have this going on right now? Yes. Toxin, drug. And it's opioids. So let's remove these opioids. Oh, there's wall of opioids. 500 walls. Let's remove this 500 walls of opioids out of the liver, 365/7 permanently, and allow that peace and harmony to just come in and balance the liver. Our liver is the one organ that can regenerate itself if given the right, perfect foods, water, everything that we need, vitamin supplements. Our body can regenerate and things can be pulled back into normalcy if we do it in the right, correct way and feed the body exactly what it needs. So dampness, we can have heat and damp. And again, with the spleen, with the summer earth element and yin evil, there's yin and yang. So the dampness is heavy, it's tenacious, it's doesn't want to leave, it's very difficult to treat, and it lasts a very long time. So those that have pneumonia have this associated with this, and it tends to move downwards in your body and cause more irreparable damage. So it's sticky, it's greasy, it's oily, it's dirty, and you have a bad smell. Some people you can tell because they have greasy hair, they have copious nasal discharge all the time, they have edema anywhere in your body, and that's swelling, we all know, and arthritis in your joints. And it's very painful. This is one of the most painful ones, or can be the most painful ones, depends on your threshold. So let's see. Yes. Going to an organ. And it's going to the interstitium. Now, the interstitium is our adipose tissue, and into that stomach where the extra skin between the organs and the circulatory system itself, the circulatory and the muscles. So you want to think of it as that. And there's no hormone that's associated with the interstitium. And it goes to pernicious influence. How about that? It's going to wind. It's going to a meridian. It's going to an extraordinary. Remember, we have main meridians and we have extraordinary ones. So it's going to the penetrating meridian. And let's see what's going on. So the penetrating is the circulatory jing kui, which means the essence, the fire. And some of these words are tongue twisters. That's why I stutter a lot. So it regulates the qui and the blood circulation in all 12 of the main meridians. So menstruation, no, yin linking, heart, kidneys, stomach, and secret, hidden, hiding, toxin. And it's going back to bacteria, and it's going to strep pneumonia. So let's release this. And we're going to release this out of the penetrating meridian. And there's more because my chest just got grabbed. Taken for granted. Now, this doesn't always mean what you think. So feels treated and careless about the indifference of what other people say. So at times we need to be more present and have those big boundaries up or that aura locked in so nobody can penetrate that. So let's just let that go. Take it for granted, low. Balance this penetrating meridian. And it's not balanced. Let's see what else is in there. A heavy metal. Gold. Do I need to know where this is from? Yes. In our circulatory system. Lower limb vessels. Basilar vein. So the basilar vein goes from your heart down your legs and down your arms. Is there an association? No. So we can just balance and take that gold out of that basilar vein. Take a deep breath, please, and let it out very, very slowly. It's still grabbing my chest. Energy. Organ communication. So we have a disconnection. Is it the stomach? Yes. Disconnected from the heart. Okay. So this, at times in our body, we don't have a physical disconnection. We have an energetic disconnection. So there is a spirit to physical tear. So we're going to put the spirit back in the physical, and we're going to put the physical back into the spirit. So it's disconnected by 60%. And it goes to an energy, post-hypnotic suggestion. And when we have a post-hypnotic suggestion, it can be from so many things. It can be from music, from video games, from other words, other persons. It can even be from entertainment. It can be from offensive energies. I am damaged. And there is a curse in there. The curse is from a female. You may not win. Okay, so we're taking that curse away. We're taking all imbalances away. Everybody take a deep breath and blow it out very hard. We're at 20%. Toxic sound from words again. And it's heartache. Somebody has a broken heart. And there's walls of heartache in their heart. 10 million walls of heartache. So let's release this 10 million walls of heartache. And let's put in unconditional love, peace, harmony, vitality, strength, and the knowingness that you are an angel. Take a deep breath. And it's still not letting go. What percent are we at? We're at 15%. There's a misalignment in a main meridian. The heart meridian is not happy. Shortness of breath. So the lung capacity is not happy in this. It is the left lung. Sorrow. So let's release this sorrow. There's no walls out of the left lung, and release this heartache and put these back two together as a whole, as one energetically, with blue flowing over to calm, the green to heal, and the white to bless it with the divine. Take a breath and let it release. There it goes. And it is now completely one whole piece. Now, isn't that amazing? To me, this stuff is just, and again, there's candida. It's worse with cold and damp weather. The spleen works to transfer the dampness, and the kidney supports the spleen, which creates stagnation. And we balance that, so we're good there. Now, the syndrome of dampness itself, you can have wind dampness, and its acute conditions would have the lowest onset of all the winds. It is affected by the damp and the cold weather, and it can reflect a respiratory infection with copious phlegm and gastrointestinal flu. And it can be compromised by generalized body aches and the heavy feeling. Hiding, there's something hiding in us. and it's a food toxin, GMO foods. So let's release this GMO food. It wants me to pinpoint it. Zucchini. So let's remove this zucchini out of this imbalance. Take a breath and just let it out slowly. And let's grab my chest again. Self-abuse. So let's take this self-abuse out of there. There's actually walls of it. 10 million walls of self-abuse. Everybody take a deep breath through your teeth. Still something hiding. It's actually is a corded hook generator. Generator of anger. So let's break the generator. Let's pull that anger out of there and swipe it away and not let it come back. Allow peace and harmony to come in. Take another breath. Okay, that allowed it to be balanced. Now remember that our phlegm can be runny or it can be thick. It can have afternoon fevers. It can have nausea. You can have vomiting. There's so much. Our tongue shows many things. Everybody's seen people with white on their tongue. That's the candida growth. But you can have a tongue that is thick and greasy. With the wind damp, it may be pain and swelling in the joints and edema. And again, our pulse is slippery. And when you actually take your pulse, it feels slippery. It's like it's sliding. It's not a good feeling when you feel it. So the damp poison in the skin, which can be a discharge of pus, carbuncles, boils, acne, or oozing. And nobody has that. So we don't have to worry about that. So you also may get an infection after a wound or a wart. And this damp heat is an infection or an inflammation that can affect many places like the liver, gallbladder, urinary, and all of these places. But it's the itis, the bronchitis, the hepatitis, the vaginitis, the prostatitis. Does anybody have this underlying secret, hidden, hiding? Yes. It's from a toxin. And back to a heavy metal, and it's mercury. Now, mercury comes in more than, and this is from pollution from coal burning power plants. And it's actually prostatitis. So this is for you guys. We're going to release this. And it doesn't want to come out of there. But due to insecurity, there's walls of insecurity. 7,000 walls of insecurity out of the prostatitis. 365/7 permanently. Balance. Take a breath and let that go, please. Now it can keep going on. You can have vomiting, loose stools, dizziness, foggy thinking, suffocating feeling in the chest, or tightness. These things just don't have one imbalance. That's why it's so important to know about pernicious influences. So does anybody have summer heat without dampness? Summer heat with dampness. We've already balanced that. Okay. So here's the last one. This one is dryness. It is associated with the lung, with autumn, with the metal element, and with the yang evil body. And these easily damage the body's fluids, whether it's dry skin, dry hair, dry eyes, dry lips. Does anybody have a dry throat all the time? It can cause that. Your stools, your scant urine, you may be thirsty. It causes so much damage. So let's see if this is in somebody. Yes. Yes. Back to circuits and systems, back to an organ, back to the stomach. So we're not producing leptin. It's only at 10%. Leptin, when your stomach, when you have a stomach, we all have a stomach, sorry. You can have discomfort in the neck, in the shoulder, in the elbow, wrist. You can have a hial hernia. You can have acid reflux, stomach pain, ulcers, bloating, gas, diarrhea. So leptin is not being produced because of hopelessness. And there's walls of hopelessness. 10,000 walls of hopelessness. So let's release these 10,000 walls of hopelessness out of the stomach and out of the dryness associated with this. And that one's actually going to pass easily. Just allow your breath just to come out easy and let it go. Beautiful. Now we can have other symptoms, and these are just more symptoms that goes along with this, but the cold dryness, it dries us out from the air conditioning, and we all use air conditioning during the summertime if we have it, right? So does this bothering anybody? Yes. Back to circuits and systems. And it's going back to our respiratory system, and it's going to our nasal cavity. And it's just saying discomfort, pathogen, bacteria. It's going back to strep. Something hiding. And it's stubbornness. They don't want to shut their air off. They want to stay nice and icy cold. So let's release this stubbornness out of this nasal cavity and out of this cold dryness. I knew there was something, I could feel it pulling. Frustration. So let's release that frustration. Take a deep breath. There's something more as soon as I let it go. Guilt. And it is actually corded to guilt. And we'll have to go deeper with that. Whoever's feeling that, let's go deeper. So let's get that guilt out of there. Take a big breath and let it go very hard out. And it did release. Okay. So now we can also have a cool dryness. See, there's a lot to this. It's like being dried out again from the air conditioner, but you're sensitive to the cold, to the chills. You have mild fevers, you get headaches, dry mouth, dry cough, and it actually attacks the spleen in the stomach, like living by the ocean. You have that all at you, and eating cold food all the time. So it can cause diarrhea, loose stools, watery stools, stomach, abdominal pain, and it gets even worse with cold foods. And nobody has that. We don't live by the ocean. So we're just going to release it for whoever's watching, that hopefully they can have that release, because who's ever watching, this will also energy with them. So when we have cold evil and it damages the spleen and the kidney yang, it can be acute hypothermia, or it can be chronic, where it actually causes severe damage. Undigested foods and stools, aversion to cold, bird stools, and even more purple lips, green lips. Have you ever seen anybody that has a green pallor and has purple lips? If you saw it, it is shocking to see. You're like, or bags underneath their eyes, big purple eyes, or they're swollen. And nobody has that. So we're just going to let that go. But this for you can understand. And again, the cold contracts the qi, the life force, and the blood that constows the circulation and congeals and stagnates the liver. The liver is very important in our health. The bloating, the depression, the irritability, the pain that's like stabbing needle pricks. It's very constant. Purple lips, complexion, and arthritis can even contract it in the joints. And there's nobody that has that here. So we'll let that go. And these are just a small part, and I mean a very small part. And I took it down as little as I could that contracts these evils. So the evil heat, dampness, cold, wind, summer heat, and dryness. And when you're working in the body code, you will come up against this. And so just don't always figure that it's going to go to a meridian, because it can go to many other imbalances. And it all involves the yin and the yang, the male, the female, and the qi of how our body circulates. So it can even affect our chakras. It's all inductive into itself. So allow yourself to be open when you're muscle testing. As you can see, I muscle test in many ways. Your hands don't get tired if you learn several ways. You can also do it with the pendulum. So always look deeper into your client. If you can feel it pulling at your chest, because when I'm working on somebody, if it pulls at my chest, I know there's something more there. So allow yourself to feel your feelings, to feel what needs to be felt, so you can allow it to let go from you, your family, and your clients. Does that make sense? Do we have any questions? That was a lot I just threw at you. No? That's it. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And that just has all my business on it. And I will see if it will let me escape. Now that's a lot. Well, hi, Rob. So that was a lot. Everybody can unmute if you like. I'm going to take us off. Thank you so kindly for joining tonight. God bless you all. I hope you learned.